Welcome, my friends. If you don't already know, my name is Aram. I'm a real estate agent in the Chicagoland area. And this video is all about how to handle a buyer client from first phone call all the way to close to make sure you have a smooth transaction. They have a great experience. So when they close, they give you a great testimonial and they refer you business because ultimately that is the best source of business. I'm making this video because when I was getting into business, or even now, when I'm on YouTube trying to get some more knowledge, all I can find is videos about how to get business, right? Prospecting, cold calling, lead gen, social media, sphere of influence, handwritten note cards, whatever. There's a lot of content and information out there on how to get business. But there's not a lot of information on exactly what to do after you get that business. And since most of my followers, people who watch me, are new agents, either just got into business or thinking about getting into business, your first client is most likely going to be a buyer. So today I'm going to explain on exactly how to handle a buyer from first phone call all the way to close. When you're looking to sell a house, you have a listing appointment. So it makes sense that when there's someone who's looking to buy a house, at the end of the day, there's transaction around the house. It makes sense to have a buyer consultation, which is similar as a listing appointment, but just handling questions and concerns a buyer may have. And a buyer consultation gives you a lot of advantages. Number one, let's say they call you, right? They're like, hey, we're looking to buy a house. Number one, you find out what their timetable is. No matter what the timetable is, you pitch them on a buyer consultation. And the way you do it is be like, hey, looks like you guys are ready to move. You guys are happy to work with me. The next step would be to get together in my office so we can get a better idea of what you're looking for, and we can kind of set up a game plan to make sure we have a smooth transaction from beginning to end, and we don't make any mistakes or mishaps. Are you free? Anyone that's serious about buying a house is gonna want a buyer consultation. It shows that you're a professional, you've done this before, and you have a system in place they can follow when they buy their most expensive purchase ever, right? Think about that. And if they fight you on the buyer consultation, then that's a huge red flag. They are not serious about buying a house. And they're gonna cause problems moving forward, right? I've never had a buyer, number one, refuse the buyer consultation. And once we've had a buyer consultation, I've never had a client not happy they did it. So always, always, always get a buyer consultation before you go out on showings. Now, before I dive into that, there is a little caveat. If somebody calls you, they have your information or you've been following up with them for a couple years, to see a specific home. They're like, hey, I sell 123 Main Street online. I'd really like to go see it. I've been looking at that house for some time. This is not the time to pitch a buyer consultation. This is the time to set up an appointment and go show that house. If they like the house, then I'll explain what to do next. That's when you set expectations. If they don't like the house, then that gives you an opportunity face-to-face to set up the buyer consultation. But if they want to see a specific house and you're trying to tell them about a buyer consultation, they're not going to want to hear all that, right? Because they've already done the searching. They found one they really, really love, right? So you're going to be the person to go show it to them. And then if they like it, put in an offer. If they don't like it, buyer consultation. Okay? Just so you know, it's not all black and white. That's one scenario in which you may not want to do buyer consultation right away. You always want to do it, but sometimes not right away. Anyhow, what do you do at a buyer consultation and what is it for? Three things, okay? The buyer consultation is for you to find out their motivation, right? Why are they looking to move? When are they looking to move? What is their situation, right? Their lease may be over, they're looking to downsize, they need less stairs, whatever the case is. Reason number two is, the second thing you can do at the buyer consultation, and you can do it in this order, you're going to find out what they want, and I circled why again. Why they want it, right? Someone may, let's say, for example, someone may want a 3-bedroom home. Then you ask them, why 3 bedrooms? Do you have kids or do you need an office? They may tell you, oh, we just need an office, an extra place we can put a desk because I work from home sometimes, right? Well, in that scenario, a 2-bedroom with a loft would be just fine because sometimes these loft areas are huge and you can close it off if you want and they're a lot cheaper. So when you find out what they want and why they want, it shows that, again, you know what you're doing, you're a professional, and you can show them new possibilities they've never thought about before. This all goes into the experience, right? Because they have to trust you. And that's another thing that buyer consultation does. It builds trust, right? Because once you know someone's a professional and they know what they're doing, now you can take their advice. Moving on to step number 3 is when you give the advice and you set expectations. By far the most important thing you can do, right? When you set the proper expectations, you avoid having to show people 3,000 houses. You avoid having to make lowball offers constantly, and you avoid people being in panic attacks because they don't know what the process is supposed to be or what they're supposed to do next. I'll give you an example of how a buyer consultation will go. We sit down, we do about a minute of chit chat. I set everything up, kind of lighten the mood, maybe offer them some H2O, and then we get to talk. Right away, I ask them. I may have asked them what their motivation is over the phone. If I did, then I'm just gonna reaffirm that's still the case. Hey, you told me you're looking to downsize, right? And around June, am I right? Something like that. If I haven't asked, I'll be like, okay, so tell me why you guys are looking to move. This is extremely important because here's the thing, folks. Our job is to look out for people's best interest, our clients' best interests, right? If you don't know what those interests are, you can't look out for their best interests, right? it makes sense. So some clients may not be ready to buy, and you have to be prepared to tell them, hey, look, it's not time for you to buy. They will love you and appreciate you for it, and they will come back when it is time to buy. And some clients will be ready to rock and roll. Great situation. Let's move on to step number 2. So once I figure out what they want, why they're moving, I find out what they want and why they want it. And this is how I set up expectations. I say the following. Again, I'm going to shorten it, but you're going to get the gist. I'm like, okay, so here's what we're going to do first. Number 1, we're going to look at every house currently available that fits your basic criteria. We're going to go through all of them, whether that's 10 houses or 200. We're going to go through every single one of them today together so I can see your reactions live and get a better feel for what styles you like, what things you don't like, this, that, and the other, right? The details. Again, shows professionalism. And then you say, of like the 60 we're going to look at, right, where you find out how many there are, of all these that we're going to look at, we're going to narrow down to your favorites. And then that's going to be around 10 to 12. We're going to knock that down to probably 5 to 8 of your absolute favorites, right? Because if there's like 12 things you've checked out and 3 of them are maybes, what's the point of looking at 3 maybes when you have 9 amazing houses that you love? So you trim the fat on that one, and somehow I always end up from 5 to 8 houses for the client to see. Always. I don't know how it ends up this way, 5 to 8 every single time. So then you explain to them how the showings are going to work. The way I do it is that, look, when we go to these showings, we're always only going to compare one house with another. Never more than 2, because then it's just going to get confusing and overwhelming, and you're going to think this house had a finished basement when the other house had the finished basement, right? So to avoid all that, we're only going to compare 2 properties at the same time. So if we go see showing number 1, showing number 2, and in showing number 2 you tell me that you like showing number 1 more, then we forget about 2, we move on to 3, and we compare 3 to 1. That's how it's going to work. This number 1 gives them a process that they can follow in their head, and you'll find out in most cases they'll do this by themselves without you even having to ask. And it kind of gets rid of that fear of missing out, because when you're looking to buy a house, the last thing you want to do is buy a house and then find out there was a nicer house available for the same price and you missed out on it. In that case, they will hate you as the real estate agent because everything is your fault, at least in their minds, right? So that's what looking at everything and then narrowing it down and then picking their favorites, that's what all that does. Now, this is all again at the buyer consultation, you explain what happens once you found the house you want to buy. Again, if those 5, you don't find anything you really want to buy, no problem. We keep looking, right? But if you do, here's what's going to happen next. And number 1, ask them if they've ever bought a house, if they know what the process is. If they say they do, still explain it, but just don't dive into the details because they may feel insulted, right? But, okay, so here's how it's going to work. Once we go under contract, here's how we're going to know what to offer, when to offer. If it's 2 days on the market, obviously we can't lowball. We have to come in with a strong offer if they're priced right to make sure you actually get the place. If they're on the market for 60 days, that's an opportunity for us to negotiate. But that all depends on what you end up wanting to buy, right? So that's number one. So this way you avoid having to make a lot of lowball offers and lose out on a lot of deals. Then you go over exactly what happens once the offer gets accepted. Once the offer gets accepted, explain earnest money, how that works, how you can lose earnest money and how you get the earnest money back. And then go over what the inspection period is all about. Here in Illinois, we have attorneys, so the process is called attorney review and inspection, right? And then how the loan process is gonna work, and then closing, right? Simple as that. It's going to give them a lot of peace of mind. So when they leave that buyer consultation, number one, they can have a lot more knowledge than they had before they left. They're going to know exactly what they want, because sometimes, unless you ask, they don't know what they want. And they're going to have a system and a process they can follow and feel comfortable with. And this, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you have a smooth transaction from beginning to end, and they actually refer you business. So it's extremely important that you actually do the buyer consultation and you do it right. Because if the buyer consultation, you're stumbling, you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a process and a system in place, then you look even worse, right? So I hope that helps you all. The next one will be on exactly how to submit an offer to make sure it gets accepted, or even how to negotiate with other agents. Thank you for watching. This is like take number 5. For some reason, I couldn't get this video right, but I did it. It's over. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Please like and comment and follow me on Instagram at RMG Realty. All your support is greatly appreciated. Take care.